All right, so I have been waiting for this movie for a while, because when you look at all of the movies that came out this year, you had Shang-Chi, Spider-Man No Way Home, and then you had the Disney stuff. So Shang-Chi, while I was interested in Shang-Chi, I didn't have a lot of faith in that movie. I didn't think it was going to do well. But it turned out to be a movie that did well. I really liked that movie. But the one that I was waiting on was Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness. To me, that movie seemed like it was a core MCU movie. It wasn't a new character that kind of felt experimental or anything like that. It was Doctor Strange, the character that we was introduced, the character that was in Endgame, the character that was in a lot of the later versions of the last phase of the MCU movies. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is the one that's going to bring us back to feeling like we did before. This is it. Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness. All right, so let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so Dr. Stephen Strange cast a forbidden spell that opens the doorway to the multiverse, including alternate versions of himself, whose threat to humanity is too great for the combined forces of Strange, Wong, and Wanda Maximoff. Now, first off, that synopsis is not, does he open a spell? I don't remember him opening a spell that does anything to the multiverse. And maybe that synopsis is there to hide a specific character. Maybe that's why that synopsis is written that way. Yeah, because he doesn't open a spell to the multiverse. All right, so basically, now like I said, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but I'm going to talk about some things that may be spoiler-ish. So basically, this whole movie is about Doctor Strange trying to protect this girl, the one that's on the screen right here. Now, who she is America Chavez. Now, America Chavez is a fairly new MCU character. And basically, I mean, she has typical superpowers. She's strong and all of that kind of stuff. But the main thing about her character that makes her special is that she has the ability to travel from one universe to another. Now she can travel through the multiverse. That's her power. She can travel through the multiverse. Like she'll like punch something and it opens up like a portal and she stepped through the portal and she can go to a different part of the multiverse, Earth this and Earth that and Earth this and Earth that, just different. She can just travel through the multiverse. So what happens in this movie is that she is being chased by creatures and stuff like that, and she ends up in the main MCU universe, which is the 616 universe. And she runs into Doctor Strange. Now, they show her before she ran into Doctor Strange, and she was being helped by another Doctor Strange in a different universe. And that Doctor Strange kind of betrayed her, but he ended up getting killed. And so she punches punches a portal, and she ends up in the main MCU universe running right into Doctor Strange. And that is where, when she meets up with him, that's where the creature that was chasing her ends up in that universe too. And that's the big octopus creature, Gigantos, that you see in the trailers that Doctor Strange and Wong is fighting and stuff like that. So she meets up with him. So the whole movie is basically him trying to protect her because somebody is trying to take her powers, and you find out, is no spoiler. You find out that person is actually, you know what? I'm not going to tell you who that person is, because if you haven't seen this movie yet, I kind of feel like who this person is was a surprise to me, because I didn't realize that that's what this was going to be about. Even though I think a lot of the spoilers tell you, if you've been keeping up with spoilers, I think a lot of them tell you. But when I found out that that is exactly what it is, I was kind of surprised that they went that way. But anyway, Doctor Strange goes to help her, and in the event of helping her, they end up traveling through different Earths. Actually, they travel through different Earths, but for the most part, they only really go to one other alternate universe. And and while they're there, a lot of cool things happen there That a lot of things that's been teased, but it was just really, really cool things that happened at that other Earth. And then, of course, at the end, Doctor Strange solves it. You know, but and that's my non-spoilery version of what this movie is about, what happens in this movie. But the thing about this movie that I really liked a lot of stuff that happened in this movie because it's no secret there were lots of cameos. A lot of the cameos in this movie were spoiled, but even though they were spoiled, there were still things that I didn't know about that was going to be in there. There was one thing that I found out about this movie that was spoiled for me like days before the movie released. I didn't even know that this particular cameo was going to be in the movie until days before the movie released. But then when I saw the movie, there was still some cameos that I didn't know about that was in there, and there were some cameos that I heard about that I was spoiled that wasn't in the movie. So I'm thinking when they shot this movie, I'm thinking they probably filmed a lot of cameos, but they didn't use all of them. Or maybe they made different decisions as the production of this movie went on as far as which cameos that they were going to use. But of course, you're seeing in the most recent trailer, you see Professor X. Professor X is in the movie. You straight up see him in the most recent trailer. I kind of feel like the trailers gave away too much, and it kind of reminded me of Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, Spider-Man No Way Home, if you've seen that movie, which I'm guessing everybody saw it now because that movie made tons of money. But if you see that movie, there was a lot of special characters in that movie that was brought back. A lot of cameos, a lot of really, really cool stuff. And while they were also teased when that movie came out, and a lot of people might have known it, those cameos made that movie pretty awesome. So I kind of felt like, Doctor Strange, they seem like they're trying to go after it the same way, and it's going to be like that. And while I do think those cameos in Doctor Strange was awesome, really, really cool. Really, really cool, really good stuff that I want to see. And the scenes with those extra cameos was awesome, but I still, while I did enjoy this movie and I thought it was really good, I still came away from it with that same feeling that the MCU has peaked. I really liked this movie. Like I said, it was a lot of cameos. It was a lot of cool stuff that happened in this movie. But I liked Spider-Man No Way Home better. I kind of feel like both of those movies, Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, I kind of feel like they both did kind of the same thing. They kind of had a movie where they brought in, well, they didn't necessarily, they didn't bring it in Doctor Strange. They went to a world that had a lot of cameos, whereas Spider-Man No Way Home, it was in the main world, but a lot of cameos was brought to that world. But they both kind of went about it the same way. The whole draw of both of those movies were the characters, were the extra surprise cameo, secret characters that was brought into that movie. And while, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the characters that were in Doctor Strange, I think they were better characters, more interesting characters I was more excited to see, but I had more enjoyment and more fun with the characters that was brought into Spider-Man No Way Home. And that's not to say that Doctor Strange is bad. I really like this movie. I really, really like this movie. I left out of that movie just thinking about all of the things, all of the characters that brought in and what it could mean going forward and all of this kind of stuff. Even though a lot of those characters that was brought in was kind of set in a way where it could potentially just be self-contained to this movie. You may not ever see them again. But yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. Now, America Chavez, this character here that's on the screen, she was pretty interesting. Also, she was a fun character. I don't know too much about that character. She's one of the newer characters in the MCU. The MCU has a lot of younger characters now that they've introduced in the last 10 years or so, and she's one of them. And I'm really thinking that that the MCU is kind of gearing up to have the new Avengers, which was a lot of the younger characters. Of course, like the Miss Marvel series, which is another teenage superhero that's going to be released on Disney Plus here, I think at the end of this month. Then you got, Hawkeye with, the Hawkeye series that was on Disney Plus. It has the, Kate Bishop. I think they're kind of bringing in a lot of these younger characters gearing up for the new Avengers team. They're probably going to start making movies and stuff based on them. And America Chavez is one of those characters too. And I thought she was pretty cool. Now in this movie, she was, I guess it was kind of early on for her because she one of the things about this movie, about her character in this movie, was that she didn't really know how to use her powers. Like every time she punched a hole and opened up a portal to a different version of the multiverse, a different Earth, it wasn't like she did it on purpose. It always happened like when she was scared or when she was panicking or something like that. Then it happened, and then she'll bounce from wherever she was to a different multiverse. So she doesn't have control over her powers yet. She don't know how to use her powers at will yet. Like for example, in the comics, part of her powers is that she's super strong, and it was like she didn't really even utilize it that much in this movie, almost like she didn't realize that she was super strong. I don't know. But other than that, I really like the character. I want to see her in. I can't wait to the MCU get these younger characters together and start working together and start making movies with them. Maybe that's when the event feel of a MCU movie will come back, when they get into that phase. But yeah, I didn't have, even though I enjoyed this movie a lot, I didn't have that same feeling. It's still, I didn't come away from this movie feeling any different than what I was saying a little while ago about me thinking that the MCU has peaked. It's funny because I have a coworker. I was talking about. We were talking about movies recently. There's a movie guy that I used to watch all the time. I don't watch him anymore, but I used to watch him all the time. And he used to always talk about how how sequels benefit from the movie before it. How, like, if a movie, let's say a movie come out and makes 100 million, $500 million. The first movie come out and make $500 million. And then when it comes out with the sequel, it's always expected that the sequel will do more, because it's building off the momentum of the first movie. Um, and I think that that's right now we're going through that. Like a lot of these movies are making a bunch of money, even though they're not as good as what came before them, by several movies now. I would say by about 2 years now, they're not as good as the movies that came before them, but they're still making a bunch of money. And the reason why is because they're still living off the momentum that those previous movies made. And at some point, if they don't bring the quality back up, that momentum is going to start to slow down. And I don't know how long it's going to take for that to happen. But at some point, it's going to start to slow down. You can't live off of Endgame forever. You can't live off the Endgame momentum forever. It's gonna be a point where that momentum, where it's gonna be so many movies that were just like okay movies, that the luster is gonna start dulling a little bit. The things that was making people excited is no longer going to be there for them to get that excited about it, and it's going to get to a point where it's just going to slowly start to go down. The excitement going to slowly start to dwindle, little by little. It might take a long time before it really have any real effect, because there's so much built up right now, so many years of built up excitement that has I mean, look at Star Wars, right? Star Wars, everybody loved the very first trilogy. A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, um, Return of the Jedi. Everybody loves that. But since then, people have been critical of almost every single movie that's came out since then, but it's still making tons of money. It's still living off of that initial nostalgia, that initial momentum that the very first trilogy gained. And even though people are complaining about it, every movie after movie after movie, people are complaining about it. They're still watching it. They're still going to see it because it's still living on. But at some point, it's going to start dwindling. And I feel the same way with the MCU, and I'm talking like it's doom and gloom, but it's not really doom and gloom, because the movies that they've been making, like Doctor Strange, is still a good movie. I really enjoyed it, but a lot of my enjoyment comes from past built up enjoyment for the MCU in general, and not necessarily because the movie lived up to what it once was, you know. I mean, it's still good. I still enjoyed it, but it's not like it was like it's not like it once was. You know, it's not like the MCU movie that felt like an event. Like Black Panther. Black Panther felt like an event when I saw that movie. Endgame felt like an event when I saw that movie. You know, Civil War, Captain America Civil War felt like an event when I saw that movie, you know, and I haven't had that feeling in a while in the MCU. And but I'm still going to see the movies, and I'll still go see some more. They have to get really, really bad before I not go see them. But everybody's not going to be like me. Some people are going to start dropping off.